We'd like everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Combs has something he wants to say before the prayer.
Just
silence.
Really quickly before we bow our heads, remember that we did have a student that passed away last week that was hit by a driver, and so if you'll keep that student, the Whiteman family in your prayers, not just tonight but continually. Thank you.
Be seated, please. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Motion by Mr. Davidson, second by Mr. Sparrow. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passed. Recognition of groups or petitions tonight. We will have Mr. Blake Shankle here to speak. You ready? We ready?
Right now?
Yeah.
Name, address.
Yes, name, address, and the topic you're speaking on, please.
Blake Shankle, 4664 Highway 59 West. Okay. The topic I'm going to be speaking on tonight is an unfortunate topic. This one I think needs to be brought to the attention is the board's lack of consistency and the hypocrisy that I've noticed over the past couple of months. First of all, I'm going to say that I say these things not out of malice, not out of slander, nor even pointed at just one person tonight. But yet I say these things because I love my family, I love my kids, I love my community, and I love the truth. And with that, I want to focus on two things. Two things that I want to show you that the words mean things, and words have consequences as well. First of all, I want to point out the board's lack of consistency, or the inconsistency. On August 12th, Mr. Clark made a motion to mandate facial coverings to be worn by all children in the Tipton County school systems. He stated, quote, "I can't live with the fact that if a child contracted and God forbid they passed away, and we didn't do everything we could do, it would be hard for me to live with that," unquote. Mr. Clark states that the board needs to, quote, "do everything," unquote, they can do. Yet it doesn't seem to me that the board actually wants to do everything that they can do. Let's take, for instance, sports, if you will. If the board truly wanted to do everything they could do, then wouldn't it make sense to stop contact sports? I mean, I don't agree with that, but I'm just following the logic that's put forward. I would think the person who's in the midst of a dog pile on the football field, breathing and panting and huffing on somebody, is well more at risk and puts others at risk than my daughter is sitting in a classroom walking down a hallway. In fact, I posed this very point with Chairman Burleson in an email dated August 13, 2021. Mr. Burleson stated, quote, "The board has no control over any requirements pertaining to sports. TSSAA makes the call on all health protocols." Additionally stated I should contact TSSAA about football or other sports-related questions. So I took Mr. Burleson's advice and I reached out to Mr. Bernard Childress, who is the executive director of TSSAA, and asked him the following, quote, "Does the school board have the right to cancel athletic events if they, the school board, deem that the students face a threat from a virus or disease, or do they have no say in the matter, and the TSSAA is the final rule on that?" Mr. Childress emailed me back and he stated, quote, "TSSAA has no authority to decide whether or not a school or school system has sports. We can only provide opportunities to participate in the safest manner possible, provided the school and school system decides to offer sports at their school." Additionally, I contacted Mr. Richard McWhirter, which is the assistant executive director of the TSSAA, and asked him the same question to Mr. Childress. Mr. McWhirter stated that the local school and school board has a decision on what sports and when they play games, as long as the games or sports season is within the TSSAA calendar. So I did what Chairman Burleson asked me to do. And I stated that I should do, and clearly from these emails, we can deduce that we shouldn't be looking at TSSAA to make these decisions. whether to stop playing sports or not. In fact, they put it back on the local school board. So again, I ask, if the school board truly believes that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is as deadly as they say it is, and is dangerous, that we should do everything possible to keep our kids alive, then why didn't you shut down the sports? Again, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just following the logic. Could it be that we're just picking and choosing our battles? Could it be that you're just picking the low-hanging fruit in view of the community in a form that appears in some sort of virtue signaling? One other area of inconsistency that I would like to draw out is if we're serious about the masking students' health, wouldn't we go to the nth degree to provide them and to make sure that they have what to protect their needs? That being at least somewhat of a correct facial covering. One at least that OSHA recognizes as a true mask. If you're going to implement a mask mandate, wouldn't you think that you would actually have them wear a certain type of mask with certain minimum requirements? An N95, for example. Now, I understand all the implications that come with an N95, but again, I'm using Mr. Clark's words that says we must do everything that we can. Yet, you're not, and we haven't seen that. It seems that the board is just concerned with putting something together over the face of someone rather than something actually working. I mean, if we're serious about saving lives, I would at least expect some consistency with a mask, such as the cleanliness of it, the duration of time in which someone actually should wear it, being fit tested to make sure nothing around the voids of the mask get into it. Can the mask actually stop aerosols? Is the mask being worn correctly, and so on and so on? But yet, there is none of this. It's just inconsistency left and right. What it appears to me is pure theater. It's nothing but theatrics is what it appears to be. Again, I ask the question, could it be that you're inconsistent on your thinking and logic? Could it be that you're just virtue signaling to the community to do something? In fact, that's exactly what we're left with when we put the facts on the table. Number 2 point real quick, and my last point is the hypocrisy. At the last meeting, the mask mandate was in effect and voted to stay in effect indefinitely. However, the same people who voted mask should be warned to a highly supposed infectious and contagious disease are actually not even wearing them. Now, I admit, some of you were wearing them and wearing them correctly last time, and I appreciate that. However, there were a few, including our chairman, who chose either to not wear a mask or keep it below.
Your 5 minutes is up, Mr. Shankle. Thank you
Give
for
me
being
30
here tonight.
seconds.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Just note that the chairman doesn't even follow his own policy.
You had 5 minutes to speak. That's what you got. You got 5 minutes. And that's what you got.
Good
I
job.
just started when you started.
Good job.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for being here. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Would anyone like to remove any item for discussion first? If not, we have a motion by Mr. Joyner. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Clark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passed. Superintendent, Dr. Combs.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Chairman Burleson for allowing my addition to this and future agendas, even though I do try to keep you on the loop regarding the school system operations. The opportunity to share info in front of you and then, of course, via live stream is appreciated. So thank you. The schools are still currently under the mask mandate, and we continue to allow opt-outs as per Governor Lee's executive order, which was recently extended through November the 5th, I believe. Masks are not required on the playgrounds when eating or drinking. Social distancing can occur, and our current opt-out figure is 18.8%. We're also grateful that our absentee percentage is getting better. A few weeks ago, we peaked at more than 25% absent. However, we are now closer to 7%. Whether that decline is due to masks being worn, quarantines working, season changing, the virus running its course, or just because the good Lord himself is imparting his grace on Tipton County, we're appreciative. In-person learning should be our goal. So we're thankful for that. Speaking of learning, it is my honor tonight to be able to present Miss Vicki Lake from Crestview Middle School as our American Fidelity Teacher of the Month. Miss Vicki. As a part of her nomination process, Miss Lake's principal, Dr. Morris, who I believe is also here, hello Dr. Morris, said, You read this already? You know I said this? Okay. Miss Lake has been a daily example of professionalism, care, and requires a level of excellence from our learners and for herself. She works tirelessly above what is required of her and consistently provides more service than is expected. So please help me in congratulating Miss Vicki Lake from Crestview Middle School.
What do you teach?
Seventh grade math.
Seventh grade math,
Yes, sir.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome. And then another part of your award, Miss Vicki, is that you do not have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Lastly, tonight, we're all excited about the latest announcement from Ford Motor Company. I've actually been in communication with Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, welcoming his corporation to West Tennessee. I know that if you watch the news at all, you've seen that. If you look in your packets, I have some information in there as well. You should have a copy of this as far as the letter that I wrote him in your folder so that you can see that. And also the governor's press release. Ford and SK Innovation will invest $5.6 billion to build a 3,600 acre mega campus called Blue Oval City on the Memphis Regional Mega Site, where production of next generation all-electric F-Series trucks will begin in 2025. The Center for Economic Research, a division of Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development, projected the following things. This is where it's going to hit us. The project is anticipated to generate more than 27,000 new jobs, both directly and indirectly, to support the site's operations. This will result in more than $1.2 billion in annual earnings. This project is anticipated to contribute $3.5 billion each year to Tennessee's gross state product. And lastly, this project is also expected to generate temporary construction benefits, including $5.6 billion spent on land, buildings, and other real property improvements and real estate. Additionally, more than 32,000 jobs are expected to support the construction period, with around $1.87 billion in salaries related to that construction information. So we're looking forward to the opportunities that this new plant is going to bring to Tipton County. With us being so close, we see our numbers going up for sure. And, you know, more hashtag endless possibilities for what we're going to be able to see. One of the things that we know is going to happen is they're going to have a new TCAP on site there at the Blue Oval City. Probably automotive would be my guess, but it's going to be there. So our kids can utilize that new site for TCAP, other than just the one they're using here as well. Of course, we're going to have multiple jobs, service industry, all that kind of thing, but it's really going to bring some growth a lot to Tipton County. We may even be able to drive in that direction to go get something good to eat, aside from just serving places. So we're excited about that as well. But anyway, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and ask, unless you have a question for me about Blue Oval City, which I probably can't answer about electric, if that's what you're going to ask me. Hunter Bennett, our capital projects manager, is going to give us an update on where we are with the roofs. Mr. Hunter?
Appreciate the opportunity, guys, ladies and gentlemen. And again, before I go with this, I want to tell you that the teachers that we have completed their schools, wanted to just share appreciations for being able to conduct class without having to shuffle buckets and trash cans around the schools as they have for some of them 15 to 20 years. So with that said, we are on the wrapping up the tail end of the ESSER 2 funds for the roofing projects. Brighton Elementary is one of the schools that we're currently working on. Of course, narrowing the gap to completion there. One of this actual project here hasn't had very much roof decking issues, which we've been fortunate with, just very small areas. Montford Elementary, let me back up to Brighton Elementary should be completed the week after fall break, so we're getting close to that one. And with weather pending, guys, you know, that one, we were hopeful that we'd finish it over fall break, but this past week had several rain chances that we lost production. Montford Elementary, these guys are looking to possibly finish this coming week on fall break. Just moving right along. Drummond's Elementary. This is, again, this was a during photo to show you again this was throughout the entire county as far as, you know, just areas where the decking has just been wet for many, many years. And we go from this to now that we've got a nice white,
Wow.
new roof that not only is gonna keep them dry, but it's also gonna help energy bills. I think you'll see a significant savings come along with the, with the white, obviously, we've been able to reflect the heat. Mumford High School, boy, was this one a chore. Very large school, but guys, I tell you, this school here had a lot of bad roof decking. But these guys here, even after, we've got done, we're working right next door, continue to, for those guys to sing the praises of their appreciation to be able to come to school and focus on education and not being able to, again, worry about shuffling trash cans. And hopefully we will find something soon out on the ESSER 3 where we can push forward with the remainder of the schools in the system to get the same kind of service, as well as hopefully bathroom renovations and then many upgrades as far as the HVAC system. So again, I thank you guys for the opportunity, and I will tell you that the school system is, the teachers are greatly appreciative for the many years that they've fought rain. Now they can focus on education. So
We appreciate you getting the job done quick too.
well, the guys, I will tell you guys that the company that we've worked with they've gone above and beyond. I really have. If I've had we've had, this many square feet, whenever you're covering, you're not going to about 1,000. And so when we've had small mishaps, they've been quick to respond. They've been able, they've sent manpower within, if I call them within an hour and a half, I've had multiple guys on site to be able to address the issue. So I do appreciate, the opportunity and the time to work with them. So,
That's good this day and time.
yes.
So Brighton Elementary and Drummond's, Munford Elementary, they're the only ones left and they're almost done?
Well, around the ESSER 2, yes. So Mumford Elementary, I would expect them to be finished over fall break. But Brighton Elementary, I'm hopeful to finish up the week after fall break. And then we'll have CIAA. With the ESSER 3, we're looking at CIAA. We're looking at Covington High School, the remainder of Covington High School that did not get in ESSER 2. Hopefully for the homeschool gym, this is right across the road. We've got Brighton Middle School that's looking to the flat portions of the roof there to get recovered.
The ones that are left are partial replacements.
Correct, they're
Right.
partial. These here were full, complete tear offs. These were, they did a great job of prioritizing the ones that were the worst. Now we're gonna tackle the ones that they need to be replaced, but they're not as bad as these were, the deck replacement. You don't see it have very little deck replacement, at all, compared to what we have. So they were dangerous.
And if you don't mind giving them an update on, I know we don't know for sure yet because we don't have the money yet, but one of the big pieces of ESSER 3 is gonna be your next big project, and that's gonna be bathrooms.
Correct. So we've got, if everything comes through, we'll have the bathrooms throughout the county, where we will go in and demo all the tile, replace the toilets, replace faucets, sink faucets as well as urinal faucets, to hands-free, to go along with all the unfortunate things that we're having to deal with here with the COVID, but to help with less contact inside restroom, where they're having to go in and actually touch fixtures. And that one, we will have some logistical challenges for sure. Where we're gonna hopefully come in, if it all gets approved here, hopefully this month, then we're gonna try to tackle school over Christmas break. So we can come in and then have our prototype, guys, this is what we're looking at. This is what what we're looking to do. We'll remove the tile, and then we'll seal the concrete. We're not going back with tile. We're gonna go back with new petitions, new toilets, new sink faucets and urinal faucets. So,
Will the faucet be hands-free too?
yes, sir, that's the plan. Yes, sir, we're planning to go back with hands-free. The only thing and then of course the paper towels and whatnot, there would be a dispenser that you pull from. And so, trying to make them as sanitary as we possibly can, where they don't go in and obviously one kid right after the other, and to keep the little Johnnies from, trying to vandalize the.
The new TikTok challenge. So the other thing is because if you hear from folks, we're probably not gonna be doing like colors on partitions. We talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
We're gonna have like a set color, like if that's a dark gray or something like that for the stalls, partitions in there. Because number one, we can keep more on hand, so if we need to do something, they're easy to replace. So we're gonna try to make it a little more uniform.
You keep it, and that was the thought. We thought maybe we would, go color coordinated for the areas, the Covington, the Brighton, and the Mumford, kind of maybe pick a color. But talking through it, I mean, just to keep a standard uniform throughout the county, you know, it's gonna keep our costs down. And whenever we do have vandalism, because it's gonna happen, then we will, you know, we're not chasing a certain, you know, one. We can just go to our stock, go to our inventory, and we can pull from it.
And they're not metal, they're those composite plastic type stalls that are just more durable, all that kind of stuff, less easy to ride on.
For most part, the concrete will be stained, so you're not gonna have the grout that's gonna sit there and absorb, you know, the mishits. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
Where does school gym fall into the priority?
It's a priority.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the batch of if the funds get approved, it's going to be, I mean, as far as priority, it won't be where we start, it'll be the last building that we tackle, but, if the funds are approved with the budget, with the bids that we got, then we should be able to, we won't put it over school's property.
Right.
So I got you.
And the roof will get done, and there's some work we can do inside of it on our own.
It's pretty
Yeah.
tough. So
Oh,
I was thinking we already had that budget approved for that roof and,
I think
fixing
most-
those windows.
Well, I think most of it was eaten up by what was done with the concession stand and then what was given to them to finish up the locker room area.
But
I
to
think
answer,
that's where a lot of that went.
But the plan, we're still planning on painting that building, locking in those windows that are leaking and putting a new roof on it.
Correct.
Covering that lean-to where it's not going. I
Yes,
think that's the source of the majority of the water.
Yes, sir.
with that as well as we, with the funds that rest from three, we do have gutters to be put on the homeschool gym also
Okay.
for that purpose.
It's a
On
good
both-
gym.
on both sides.
We'll make sure we're taking care of it.
And on both sides of the building, so whenever they're having the sales at the games, you know, they're not getting pounded, you know, with the water coming off on the south end of the building.
Yeah.
So, gotcha. Any questions, guys?
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Director of Operations, Dr. Fisher.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to share with you the dedication and some of the hard work some of our staff have done in the last 2 months that you may not be aware of. What's really going on behind the scenes with the support staff. And of course, we've been talking about bus drivers and the shortage of bus drivers. And our drivers drive over 7,000 miles per day, 3,500 in the morning, 3,500 in the afternoon. Don't know if you're aware of that. We typically have about 167 bus drivers, and we're currently running, we have 30 drivers out. We are short by 30 drivers. We began this year with COVID, all of our regular illnesses and other retirements, and we've still managed to run all of our routes daily and pick up our students. Some of our drivers are driving their 2 regular routes per day in addition to picking up extra routes and then going back and picking up kids every day. And changes occur daily, but we're meeting the challenge. Every day, we're still routing buses, addressing parent concerns, and maintaining our fleet of buses and vehicles. Our transportation staff, bus drivers have just stepped up and done what needed to be done. Whatever it takes, our transportation staff has made it happen, so because all of our students matter. Our school nutrition department, the cafeteria staff, as you may know it, has really dealt with a lot of different issues. We've dealt with supply chain issues. There have been staffing shortages among our food vendors, meaning that Cisco and PFG, where our commodities come out of Batesville, Mississippi, they don't have drivers to get the food to us. There have been shortage of products like our to-go containers, Ziploc bags, paper products, the things that we serve with every day, our 5-compartment trays, and even our food items. There are shortages in these areas. We've had delays in delivery. We're scheduled to receive the majority of our deliveries at our schools on Monday, with the exception of one school. Our normal delivery time is 1:30. But our staff has had to stay as late as 5 o'clock to receive the delivery because they've not arrived on time. Sometimes the deliveries are changed to another day, and so then we have to make accommodations for that as well, but our staff has stepped up and done that. We serve breakfast and lunch, and our menus are subject to change, and our parents have been very supportive of that. And those menus have to change due to the availability of the food that we have. And so there have been substitutions that have been made almost daily. The cost of food has gone up. And lastly, we've had a cafeteria worker shortage, which has posed a challenge for food services throughout the district. However, our administrators, our workers, and even our school administrators have stepped up and prepared meals, or actually worked on the serving line, or worked the concession, done whatever needed to be done to help our cafeteria workers to make sure that all of our students receive their meals. We've now begun after-school meals, so we do have 9 schools and 1 community agency that receives 3 hot meals a day, the students that are there. During the month of September, we've served 5,257 meals after school. So we want you to know that we are taking care of our kids. We're doing whatever it takes. And my hat's off to my staff and transportation, as well as our school nutrition department. We all need to be very aware of what they're doing just to make sure that it gets done. And I think that's just really, really important. We hear about it on the news, but it's happening right here. And so, my hat's off to them. I want to really thank them, but I wanted you to be aware of some of the things, some of the struggles that they're dealing with each and every day. I think that's important. And that's all I have, unless you have a question.
I have one.
Yes,
I know we
sir.
have a shortage of bus drivers. Have you ever considered using the support staff or coaches or other school personnel?
We have, as a matter of fact, Mr. Morris has reached out to all of the schools to ask if we have any additional persons that have their CDL or interested in even receiving their CDL. There's a backup with the state with the testing process. So that's something else that we're having to overcome. We have individuals that have applied and are waiting, learning how to drive. But the testing process has been held up, and that's at the state level. We do not have our own tester. We have we have an individual that we're working on for that, but they've not completed that testing yet. When we get that, we'll have a person here in the district that'll be able to do that. But right now, we don't have that, so we have to wait on the state even to test those individuals that might want to come to work. So there are a lot of different challenges that we're trying to overcome, but everybody in the bus shop is driving in the afternoon, with the exception of 1 or 2 persons that are answering the phone. So it's a lot, but they get it done.
In regards to nutrition, what are we doing to incorporate our ag programs, growing food that our students can eat?
I know we've been in some discussion with them in terms of fresh lettuce and some things like that. Don't know where we are. I can bring you a report back on that, but I know there's been some discussion with that, so.
Are there any grants out there that we can apply for to help speed that process up?
Possibly, we'd have to look at that. There's a lot of farm to table things out there, but we have to meet the eligibility guidelines of those grants in order for us to receive that. But I know that's something that we're looking into. As a matter of fact, I know that in October, there's the possibility of salads that's gonna be out there for all of the schools, and the staff is really excited about that.
Good start.
Yeah, good start.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Fisher. Ms.
Ms.
Sherry,
Sherry.
Good evening. Boy, what a difference a month makes. First of all, I'll just tell you, Dr. Fisher was talking about maintenance and, bus shop and transportation, but I kind of work with all the nurses, and they've been really hit hard this year. So just remember them all the time. They're finally seeing a little bit of reprieve lately, but even if it wasn't for COVID, we have a lot of sick children in our schools that have a lot of chronic illnesses that we take care of every single day because we want them to stay in school. So they're constantly doing, we have a lot of diabetics, a lot of tube feedings that take up a lot of time. So I am thankful to you that you saw fit to have nurses in every building, because I don't know how we would do it if we didn't have one in every building right now. It would be very hard, so thank you for that. Just to give you some numbers, first of all, I'll tell you that we are gearing up for flu shots. It's hard to start talking about vaccinations when you're talking about COVID vaccinations, but we are encouraging everyone to have flu shots. Right now we have about 300 signed up for flu shots that will start after fall break, local pharmacies and different pharmacies will come and they will give flu shots at the buildings for our teachers and staff. So that's a perk that we give for them. For our COVID testing so far, we have done over 103 COVID tests on faculty since we started. And out of the 103 tests, we've had 8 positives. But what's happened with that, it's a really good perk. It's another good thing for our teachers and staff. They don't have to leave the building if they, they don't have to get an appointment. If they feel like they've been exposed or they're having some symptoms and feel like they're just not sure that, what's going on, they can go online and get a time and be COVID tested right there in the building. So it's been a good thing, and we've even bought some more and looking at maybe increasing that ELC grant to look at possibly how we might be able to test students, maybe after Thanksgiving or something, but it depends on if we're able to get some more of that money. And then where will it be best benefited if we were to test students? Questions?
No, I don't,
Okay,
I'm just
all right.
listening.
So since the last board meeting, our numbers have declined. The week after the board meeting, we had 95 positive students. The week of 9/20, we had 48. Next week, we had 45, and this past week, we only had 38 positive students. Staff members have constantly declined. Last week, we only had 2. We had 0 positive staff last week. So in the whole community and plus in the schools, our numbers are going down. So that's helped with quarantine numbers are way down. I think we had about 150 quarantined this past week. So hopefully that's gonna keep going down. Last year, after fall break, we saw an increase. But I have talked to some people that think maybe the Delta variant's kind of slowing down, and that should help us a lot right now.
You can have that quarantine number broken down by student staff.
Yes. For a week, you have,
For your most recent numbers.
the most recent quarantine numbers was last week. We had 157 students and 1 staff person. And these are those that we know of, sometimes if they happen outside of the school or something, the nurses may not know to report that yet, but they're reporting the ones that we actually quarantine. So if it's a family quarantine, that may not be in that number, so.
Do we know of any Tipton County school students that are currently hospitalized?
0 right now.
Any other questions?
At what point, and this is probably an unanswerable question, but at what point is it our doctor's gonna say, hey, you can go back optional? For mask.
For mask, there is an answer for that, and it's when you're in low transmission. And right now, Tipton County is still considered high transmission, and that you've got to go under a 10% positivity rate. And it has to do with numbers per 100,000, but that's on the CDC website, and also the Department of Health has that information. If you go under county data specific, you can look under, and Tipton County immediately flags red, so we're still high transmission. So they're still
I think we're
recommended.
15. I believe that's what I saw
Oh,
today.
15?
The way it ten, you want that.
That's,
I think it's 15%.
I'd like to see us develop a policy based on data rather than, none of us are doctors. So, and I've said that from the beginning, but if we're gonna mandate masks, we also need to have a time when we say, okay, they don't need to be worn. I don't think anybody likes the indefinite mandate that we're under right now.
It might be nice to see one based on the school system too, because right now, all those numbers that she said are based on community.
community.
See, our school
Yeah.
system numbers are way down, but the community numbers is what the CDC and all them base that per 100,000 on, so, we've looked at that too, to see if we could just do it
Can
for
we
the
get
school
that
system.
data by school? Okay.
I mean, it would be us doing our own data, it would
We do it.
strictly be under, we could do it, we get it all turned in every week, we would just give a percentage based on how many, the population, we would do our own positivity rate is what it would be.
Yeah. Because they don't
That's something
make
y'all
that
can work
data, we
on.
do it.
I'd definitely be interested in hearing what we could base this on from a data perspective. And just to clarify for everybody, has there been a student sent home for not wearing a mask?
Not that I'm aware of, not that's come to my attention,
Okay.
because they can still opt out.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple as that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Dr. Cummings, did I hear you say that we got an 18% opt-out?
18.8 was the last number that I had.
So that means 82% are wearing masks.
It would seem that way, but no, that's not. You know, number one, you know, the mandate that y'all did is also like, if you can socially distance, you don't have to wear it. You don't have to wear it while you're eating, you don't have to wear it on the playground. You know, so there are a number of them not, you know.
All right, financial report, Mr. Billy Darn.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here for my third presentation. I don't know if I've been set up by my colleagues or if being hazed, but I was encouraged to be brief and expedient on the first one. I thought I did a pretty good job. Last time, not so much, but y'all get comfortable, because I'm going to be here a second. Couple of things I want to go over. First of all, Dr. Combs and I met with the auditor today. We just completed our fiscal year 2021 audit, and I'm happy to report to you there were no material findings in the financial audit for the school. We did have a finding on the IT side where an employee had a username and password displayed on the computer, but overall, the audit out of $130 million, no findings. And a number of single audits conducted this year in accordance with the federal grants that we've been receiving, so that's great news, and kudos to the staff that helped make that happen. Let's start today, if you would, with the financial report. We have several amendments tonight to speak of. I'll talk more about that in just a second. But I'd like to take these up separate in motions. The financial report in its own motion, and then the amendments in their own motion, but because there's a lot going on, and we'll see that in just a second. It's okay, Mr. Chairman?
That's right, yes.
All right. So for the financial report ending September 30th, 2021, in the 141 general purpose school budget, revenues were a little over 7.7 million. Expenditures a little over 7.5 million. In the 142 federal projects budget, revenues 3.4 million, expenditures 3.6 million. In the 143 central cafeteria fund, revenues 292,000 and expenditures 601,000. And in the 171 capital projects budget, expenditures about $4,900. Again, remember, we're trying to clear that budget out this year. It has a balance of 102, and hopefully we can be done with the capital project piece of it.
What's that earmarked for, the 102?
That is money that is left over for, if I'm not mistaken, Hunter and Coach may correct me, I believe that is for Brighton High's projects they didn't finish.
Okay.
The other two schools finished their projects, so that's what that's for.
I was gonna sneak our Jim in there.
You can talk to Dr. Norton and see what he works out.
Yeah.
Keep my door locked. The other thing you'll see in your packet, I believe, are the individual school budgets that have been presented tonight for your consideration.
Let's go ahead and do the financial.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion to approve the financial report as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Farrell, second by Mr. Shipley. Are there any questions about it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The other thing that you'll see are copies of the individual school budgets that are been presented to the central office by the individual schools. Just for your consideration, if we have a motion to put those, spread those on the minutes.
I have a question.
Yes,
Is
sir.
this all for schools?
It's all but two of them. Two of them have not submitted theirs yet, or three have actually not submitted theirs yet.
Do we have a motion to approve the individual school budget as presented? Motion by Mr. Dorn, second by Mr. Clark. Are there any questions about it? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Motion passed.
All right, we're gonna move to the budget amendments, and if you all don't mind, I would like to start in the 141. You'll see that at the top of your sheet where it says 141 general purpose school. This one's fairly simple. I've included for you, notice there's a new format to the way the numbers are presented insofar as amendments. And this is so that you can keep a picture of the running totals of amendments from what our original appropriations were as we progress through the school year. The only addition in these minutes is you'll see an additional revenue on the second page for $12,190 on page 2. That is money that has been donated to the district from the Governor's Early Literacy Foundation to outfit what is going to be known as the book bus. And this is basically, we're gonna retrofit an old bus that cannot be used for students anymore. And it'll go around into the neighborhoods after school and in the summer and that type of thing for children. It's in kind of a partnership with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And that bus will go around for books. And so they've donated that money with specific ultimatum as to what we do with it, and that's to retrofit the bus, wrap it with a identification and put the books in the bus. And so that is the amendment there for 141. Are there any questions regarding that?
Where's that? On the back side.
Page 2.
It will look similar to the, Dr. Fisher, correct me if I'm wrong, the Hunger Stop Cafe, kind of like that, right?
Colorful.
Very colorful.
Do we have a motion to approve the 141 amendments? Motion by Mr. Clark, second by Mr. Davidson. Any questions about it? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed.
Now we'll start with the 143, if you don't mind, I'll say 142 for last. And I know I saw a couple of looks. You have seen this information before, because a lot of this you have already approved previously in the fiscal year. But we're bringing this back because of some changes and consolidated and that type of thing. But let's go to 143 first. You'll notice there is a new revenue there about midway down from the federal government, USDA, for $144,000. The USDA reached out to several districts across the state, Tipton County being one of them, to reimburse for losses due to COVID for the food that was in the schools during that period of time. And Tipton County has been awarded 2 separate grants, one for $118,326.53, and one for $26,304.74, which totals the $144,632, bringing that into the 143 budget for this year. And I believe, based on the paperwork, you all saw this last fiscal year, but the funds are actually here now for us to do. So if we can get a motion to approve that amendment.
Do we have a motion to approve the 143 amendments? Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Ms. McClarkin. Any question? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, we'll go to the 142 budget now, if you don't mind. And I'm gonna pass out a cheat sheet, so to speak, to kind of help you stay in tune with what I'm talking about. So Ms. Laura, if you take one down and pass it around. Now, as we discussed this tonight, if y'all hear a lot of loud screams and clapping from this group right here, that's because they've been waiting on this money for a period of time. And I think they came tonight just to make sure I was gonna present it. I don't think I would have gotten out of here if I hadn't. So, once that gets around, we'll take a look at a couple of things. I do want to shout out to Ms. Brissa Richardson and Sharon Ballou, who's over special ed, which a lot of these dollars have to deal with. They do a great job over there with a lot going on, so it's been a pleasure to work with both of them.
That's not what you said yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. And Dr. Combs, you're supposed to be on my side. All right, so here we go. So a couple of these, let me take up first, we're gonna work left to right off of this spreadsheet, right here, okay? Now, these two first ones I brought to you all last month, took it to the county commission tonight. The other 6 that you see across that spreadsheet are dollars this board has already approved in previous fiscal year consolidated funding. That money has been sent back, of course, carryover, basically what we didn't spend last year. And also, you all know, as enrollment changes and sped population changes and that type of thing, they reallocate the funding to accommodate what the needs of the district are, okay? So we're gonna talk about a little bit of that, and then I'm glad the ladies are here to help to answer any questions we may have. But I would like to take these, after we discuss each one individually, a motion to take that up and to pass that amendment, so that we do that in the budget. And I'll ask you to take out the one that says 142, because we're gonna be talking about all these revenues and expenditures on this, so you can kind of put these sheets side by side. So let's start first with the ARP IDEA grant, which is the American Rescue Plan Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And so the bottom line number change, and this is a grant we received, is $569,238.14. You'll see that reflected if you'll look on your other budget amendment sheet there at the top, about 3/4 of the way down in the revenue. You'll see that amount in the budget. It's in the American Rescue Plan Act Grant number 2. And that's where we're bringing that funding in. And if you'll look on the blue sheet, you'll see how those dollars they've been allocated to spend. So as you go down the column of ARP IDEA, you'll see where the dollars that make up those amounts are being spent and what they're being spent for. Now, this board's already approved these. You've already seen this. I'm just gonna break it out in greater detail in the spreadsheet tonight, okay? So are there any questions on ARP IDEA?
Do we have a motion to approve that?
Do we need a motion for each individual?
Yes, sir, each individual grant.
Okay, yes.
Motion by Mr. Clark, second by Ms. McClurkin. Any questions? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, the second one in the column is the ARP PIG, which is the American Rescue Plan Preschool Instructional Grant, which, if you'll look on the back side of that blue spreadsheet, the total is $37,951.09. You'll see that number reflected as well, under the revenue under American Rescue Plan Act, grant number 3, for that amount of money. And, it's broken out there in the spreadsheet for what those dollars are gonna be used for.
Do we have a motion to approve this? Motion by Mr. Davidson, second by Mr. Farrell. I had both of you. Any questions about it? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passed.
All right, the next 5 grants on that spreadsheet we're gonna take up are what you all know under the name consolidated. That is what the budget you pass at the start of every year is called the consolidated budget. That's Title I, Title IIA, Title IV, IDEA, and preschool instructional grant. So I'm gonna take those 5 up, if it's okay with you all together, since that is all in one piece consolidated, okay? Now, I've got them broken out individually because obviously Title I does things, different things than Title II and Title IV, okay? What their program goals are different, but they're all under the consolidated umbrella. And so, individually, as the numbers read, for Title I, it's $298,970.88. For Title II, Part A, $54,937.29. For Title IV, $140,491.68. For IDEA, $500,444.65. And for the preschool instructional grant, $24,550.58. You'll see those numbers individually reflected in the appropriate revenue codes. If you remember the sheet I gave you all last meeting that told you how those funded, how those dollars were allocated under what revenue codes, and that you'll see that all matches up to this, as well as the disbursements down the side of this blue spreadsheet lines up with those as well. Okay? So are there any questions on consolidated?
Do we have a motion to approve the consolidated budget? Motion by Ms. Rozelle, second by Ms. McClurkin. Any questions? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed.
Okay. The last grant on the blue page that we're going to talk about is the HQIM Literacy Implementation Grant. And in case y'all know, for the record, the education industry has more acronyms than law enforcement ever thought about having. I thought I had to learn a lot in law enforcement. I'm overwhelmed with the acronyms in education. So nevertheless, this is just what it says it is. It's a literacy grant. This is a grant that this district applied for back in the spring. Was awarded, you all probably saw or heard about it at that point because it was approved to be applied for, and now the money has made its way here. It is $83,000, and you'll see that also reflected in the budget, and then what it's going to be spent for. And any questions on that grant?
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Farrell, second by Mr. Clark. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed.
These amendments that we just spoke to you about were taken up by the Finance Committee tonight, taken under advisement for you all's review, and will be presented to the full body Monday night for passing. and Lord willing, we'll be ready to spend the money Tuesday morning. That's great. All right, so three new grants that I want to present to you tonight that we've been awarded to ask to be brought into the budget so that Dr. Combs and I may take it to the Finance Administration Committee in October's meeting, which I'll report back to you that following Thursday of what the outcome was. There is an addition to the Title II grant, which is, they have titled the Title II Homeless Grant. And so, make sure that I'm telling you that correctly, because I may have got my acronyms messed up. One of them's homeless and one of them's Title III. So yes, Title III, which is the English Language Learners Grant. So as you all are aware, our district has been participating in a consortium with Lauderdale and Haywood over the past few years because our English language learner population has been lower for us to get the grant, so Lauderdale has acted as the fiscal agent. However, we've now received notification through the state, our population has reached such that they're gonna bring the money directly to our district, and we're going to be the fiscal agent for our own money. Now, it's $10,083, $10,082.14, I believe to be exact. But that money we will be taking before the Finance Committee next month in order to administer that for the students in our district. Any questions on that grant, Title III?
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Clark, second by Mr. Joyner. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed.
All right. And so for the next grant, which is going to be, pull it up here, it's going to be the American Rescue Plan Homeless Grant, which is going to be in the amount of $52,034.18. And that's going to address those, obviously it's under the COVID money, but the name says it for the homeless, or those who don't have stable home. It's $52,034.18. That's also federal dollars to be coming into the 142.
Do we have a motion to approve? A motion by Mr. Davidson, second by Mr. Farrell. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passed.
I think it'd make it easier on Miss Melinda if we made the same person.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I gave Ms. Melinda a cheat sheet before we got started. Because I knew she was gonna be a little overwhelmed back there taking those notes. The last grant that I want to present to you all for your approval is the Adult Education Grant. And it is a grant money that we have been awarded. It's two grants that total $144,000. One's for $124,000, the other for $20,000. And this is to augment our adult education program in Tipton County for adult learners, HiSET testing. It's for those materials and personnel that put that program on. And so we'll be taking that. That's the third grant we'll be taking before finance next month.
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Farrell, second by Mr. Shipley. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passed.
Anything else y'all want to talk about? That's all I got. So that's another shout out. So these ladies will do a lot of work in their instruction, whether it's school-wide instructional facilitators help with that. Ms. Marion Samuel and Ms. Catherine Huffman are very involved in the 142 grants. And so they all work as a team, basically. Teamwork makes the dream work. There are a number of people, and I left a lot of people out. So whoever's watching on the camera, there's a lot of folks out that I did mention, but that's a lot of moving parts and a lot of money. But you got to look, if you'll notice, we started at 5.6 million in the 142 this year, and before the three I just mentioned, now we're at 34.2 million just in that one budget, about 131 million overall in the school's budget. So it's it takes a few people to make that work. And so that's from the classroom all the way here to Dr. Combs. I mean, a lot of things that have, in this board, obviously, you have to approve all of these. And I know y'all get inundated with this information and we're starting to separate it out, but I think it's easier for us all to look at and know historically what we're doing.
Right. Mr. Doherty, a great job tonight. Thank you.
Can you say Dr. Combs, give me a raise?
Thank you.
No pressure, Dr. Combs.
That brings us to other business. Ms. Melinda had in our packet for us to go out to the TSBA convention, and we need to have delegates for the delegate assembly. Who knows right now that they're going? Mr. Farrell, I know you do, Mr. Davidson, and myself, Mr. Benson. and Ms. McClurkin, with all of y'all, Ms. Roselle, you go, okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Clark?
4, we can have 6.
Yeah, well, with 9, you need about 5 at least. Yeah, 5. Well, who would, be wanting to go, and be a delegate, you know, for the delegate assembly, it's about an hour. It's pretty good. I know everybody's probably been to it before, but you know what law is passed and keep up with legislation. Mr. Betts is our TLN representative.
I'd like to be a delegate.
Yeah, okay, all right. Mr. Davis, Mr. Farrell, myself, 4.
Lori said you would.
Laurie, that's 5. Ms. Roselle, 6. Ms. Roselle, you want to be a delegate too?
I gave it a shot.
All right, hey, Ms. Melinda, you got those 6.
Okay.
That'd be a good representation. Anybody else have anything? Dr. Combs, do you have anything else?
Just one last thing I was gonna tell y'all, you know, there's, the word out there is that, you know, ESSER 4, y'all may have heard ESSER 4 coming. It was supposed to be infrastructure money. I actually just got a text from the commissioner today to just double check and make sure that I heard her correctly. But, apparently ESSER 4, when they say infrastructure money, we thought they mean like to support more technology, more building structures within the buildings, servers, all that kind of stuff. But apparently ESSER 4 money, when and if it happens, is strictly for electric school buses. So, you might want to be thinking in that direction. You know, obviously, if we're gonna get a bunch of money, we're not gonna, you know, turn it down, say, never, we don't want it. But at the same time, it's not gonna be used. And we're talking about, you know, a few $1 million. So we don't know anything about that. We'll have to buy, you know, charging units that go in every area to charge these things up. We don't know anything about, we've never had electric buses, never even thought about having electric buses. So, just, that's on your radar. And pretty much what I've told you is all I know. But I just double checked with her today, like I said in the text, and just said, hey, look, is this really what's coming? And she said, what we've heard is that's what ESSER 4 is gonna be. So somebody's gonna be making bank somewhere for electric buses. But anyway, sir.
They do make electric buses.
Supposedly, I haven't, they have in some places, yeah.
Go along, that's like we need Ford trucks.
That's right, yeah, Ford may make them. I don't know.
Does anybody else have anything? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to address the board.
Mr.
I'd
Gaines,
like to address the board.
you're not on the agenda. You want to address about, an item on the agenda tonight?
No, the,
No. Do you want to address the board on an item on the agenda? If not, we've had our time tonight.
okay, I'll read my remarks next month.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Ms.